You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode 158. Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets. What's up, coaches? In this episode, I'm going to talk about triggers. How do we handle things that push our buttons in our lives? And how do we support our clients when they are dealing with situations that trigger them? So have you ever wondered why certain words or behaviors can instantly set you off? Well, there's a lot that we can understand in the world of triggers. And maybe there are certain things that you feel like you go on autopilot when you're faced with certain situations. I want to go through why it is that certain things push our buttons and what are some strategies that we can use to navigate those types of experiences. Now, a trigger is any stimulus that prompts some kind of emotional or psychological response. And our triggers often are created from past experiences or conditioning that we have. It can also be based off of certain values that we hold. And we might use various words to describe triggers in our lives. We might say that something set you off, or something hit a nerve, struck a chord, rubbed you the wrong way, stirred something up in you, pushed you over the edge. There are so many ways in our language that we describe triggers. As coaches, we want to recognize when our client has a trigger because sometimes that's what they will bring to coaching sessions with you. They will want to explore why things are bothering them. And it's our role as coaches to help create deeper awareness for our clients so they could uncover what's there and how to resolve that trigger so it no longer has that impact on them. So I like to think that our triggers are teachers. All of those things in our life that trigger us, they also reveal an opportunity for us to have a better understanding of who we are, what we value, and also give us an opportunity to broaden our awareness and create new interpretations. So that way we have more autonomy over what we think and what we experience. Even though something might feel automatic when it triggers you, there still is space between the stimuli and your response. And that's one of the things I think we do as coaches is we zoom in to that space between a stimuli and the response that we have so we can create new interpretations and have desired responses instead of the automatic undesired responses. Sometimes our triggers are there to illuminate some unresolved issues that we have. So it might point to some unmet needs within ourselves, and by paying attention to our triggers, it can shine a light on those areas inside of us that might require some attention or exploration. Triggers can also reveal what our core beliefs and values are. So any kind of deeply held beliefs or expectations we might have that shape our perceptions and behaviors could influence what triggers us and what doesn't trigger us. They could help us understand the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are, what we deserve, and how the world works. Triggers also highlight areas for growth because they challenge us to question those automatic responses we have, and they invite us to expand our comfort zones and develop greater emotional resilience and also have more adaptive coping strategies. So there's a lot to gain from a trigger, and sometimes the triggers that we experience may seem rather meaningless, but whenever you look at them a bit closer, it's remarkable what could really come up. Now, I want to distinguish a trigger from a pet peeve. A pet peeve is something that's a relatively minor annoyance for you or a minor frustration. that you likely experience in your daily life. And they could vary from person to person. Usually they stem from just personal preferences that you have or habits or sensitivities. So for example, some common pet peeves might include things like a slow walker. So does that ever bother you when someone is in front of you, they're walking really slowly, maybe they're obstructing the sidewalk? That can be a frustration for you, especially if you're in a hurry and you want to get somewhere. Or loud chewing. Maybe if someone makes a noise when they're chewing, or it could be slurping or other types of eating noises, that could be irritating for a lot of people, especially if it's in a quiet or formal setting. Or people that perhaps talk loudly in public. Maybe they put their cell phone conversation on speakerphone, or they're just talking loudly with the person they're with. Like for me, I have a pet peeve. I have a lot of pet peeves when I'm traveling. And when I am on a plane, my ideal flight is complete silence. I don't want to hear anyone's conversation. I don't want to hear what shows people are watching on their phones or their devices. I think that when you are traveling in using public transportation, then it's important to be respectful to the people around you. One of the things that I notice happens, especially now, is parents will give their kids tablets and they will put their tablets on the highest volume setting and they will play these games that have so many obnoxious noises. And I've been on flights at times where the flight attendant will come over and tell the parent to lower the volume on their kids' devices. And I'm always so grateful when that happens. One of the other things that I have as a pet peeve, also related to flying, because I do a lot of travel and flying, and I notice that the experience of travel, even though I love it and find it very fulfilling, sometimes navigating an airport and getting on the plane, getting off the plane could bring up lots of irritating things and pet peeves for me. I don't know about you, but have you ever had an experience where you're getting ready to get off of the plane lands, and the seatbelt sign goes off, and then certain people like to stand up right away. And I used to get bothered by that. I always thought, why are people standing up? Because we can't even get off yet. So why are people all the way in the back of the plane standing up? And then I thought, okay, I guess some people want to stretch their legs, especially if it's been a longer flight. They just want to, move their body a bit. I get it. But what really irritates me is when people start to leave the plane, when they try to cut in front of people in rows ahead of them. If you do that, stop it. That has bothered me so much. And I understand that sometimes people have connecting flights. I understand that sometimes people are in a hurry. But I think if you're in a hurry, if you have a connecting flight, then don't assume that the people in front of you know that. It doesn't take a lot to tell someone, hey, I'm really in a hurry. Would it be okay if I just jumped in front of you? That's all you have to do, instead of just thinking that you can leave a plane before someone else. I think there's this expectation I have that when the plane lands, that everyone is to leave in order from row to row. As you can see by my tone, this is something that gets me quite heated. There have been times before on the plane where someone will attempt to go in front of me and I've put my arm out and I just allow myself to exit because I don't tolerate that. I think that is so rude. So I have lots of pet peeves when it comes to flying. You might find that you have pet peeves when you drive, right? When people don't use their turn signals or they drive slowly in the passing lane. That could be a source of frustration. Or one that's really common is a lack of punctuality. So maybe whenever you're kept waiting due to someone else's tardiness, this can be really frustrating for people, especially if you value timeliness or efficiency. So there are pet peeves, and these are just, again, the minor annoyances in our lives. But then there are also triggers, and some triggers that could seem very basic can reveal a deeper or underlying issue or pattern that could be rooted in some kind of belief or emotion that could be resolved and explored through coaching. One example for me is I when I did a lot of public speaking and presenting, when I got started in that, I noticed that I would observe the audience and the groups that I would present to. And I would get very triggered when I would notice someone would yawn whenever I'd be in front of the room presenting. Now, mind you, I was doing very long form presentations, often like 10 hours of presenting in a day. For an entire weekend, I'd have 10 hours each day. And of course, it's natural at times for people to yawn. And I realized that this would really bother me. And then I had a coach that helped me look into this trigger and see what else could be going on. And through some coaching, I realized that the reason I got triggered is because of the interpretation I was putting on someone yawning when I was presenting. I was making it mean something about me. I was taking it personally. And this is often the reason we get triggered, is we take things personally. We make other people's actions mean something about us or make it a reflection of us in some way. This is usually why someone is triggered. So the way I was making it personal is when I saw someone yawn, I took that to mean that I am boring and uninteresting. So that's why they're yawning. And I realized that was an insecurity that I had carried with me for a long time in my life. I thought I was boring and uninteresting. So no wonder why when someone was yawning, I was making it mean something so much more than what it really was. And when the coach explored this with me, I realized that there were so many other reasons why someone would yawn when I'm presenting. They might have had a long day. They may have not gotten enough rest the night before. They may have just come back from a meal and perhaps they're just a little bit tired. They might be yawning because their brain is so engaged with what I'm sharing. And I know sometimes when I'm learning, I will yawn as I feel like my brain is getting a workout. So now I don't get triggered when people yawn as I'm presenting. And that's been so completely resolved. And I'm grateful, though, that I've been able to look at that trigger because it used to really bother me. Like I would put a lot of energy into why people would yawn, and it really would upset me. I'd carry that with me after my presentations. And there's a lot that you can look into when it comes to why your triggers are so upsetting to you. So here are some other examples of deeper triggers that maybe you experience that could reveal something more, could reveal something about what you value, or perhaps you're making some interpretations that could be looked at. Maybe you're taking things personally. One trigger that you might have is whenever you experience some kind of rejection or loss or betrayal. So if you have moments where you feel perhaps someone close with you has betrayed you, or maybe they've rejected you, or you've experienced some kind of loss, right? These are usually more universal triggers that a lot of people can relate to. Or if you're ever criticized or judged or evaluated negatively, especially in an area that you might be sensitive about, this could push your buttons. This could bring up some emotion that could be looked at. If you witness or experience injustice or discrimination or unfair treatment, this could ignite feelings of anger and frustration or helplessness in you. Now, I'm not saying that if you have a trigger, it means that there's something wrong with you and that the situation, the other person involved, if there is one, isn't doing anything wrong, especially when it comes to some kind of injustice or discrimination. What I'm presenting in this episode is just having ownership over your emotional responses and then deciding what you want to do with that, right? And for some triggers, you might want to own, you know what? I do want to be bothered by this. I do want to be frustrated, and I do want that to motivate me to take action to correct some kind of injustice that I'm experiencing or that I'm witnessing. So this is all about recognizing you have the power over how you respond to the stimuli in your environment, to other people, to situations, and you can decide how you want to use those emotions that come up to get you the desired results that you want to have in your life. Certain words or phrases can trigger you, and you might not the thing that helps you own your triggers is by noticing those little moments in your life that are seemingly simple that just stirs something up inside you, and starting to become aware of that. One practice that I've often given my clients is in between our sessions, I would have them fill out a button pushing journal. And what that is it's a journal where they can notice any moment in between our sessions where their buttons are pushed. And they would always be able to come back with certain things and go, oh, I didn't realize, like, when the person said this to me or when this happened, it pushed my buttons. And it gives for a lot of great coaching opportunity when you start becoming aware of the little things in your life that are pushing your buttons. I promise you, if you did this even for a few days, had a button pushing journal, you will uncover so many things that you didn't realize you were unconsciously giving your energy to. And by looking at those triggers, examining them, seeing the interpretations you're making, and noticing the responses you're having on default versus the responses you want to have by choice, could open up a lot of possibility for you. So how do you really coach through a trigger and a button? This is something that we go deeper into inside Thriving Coach Academy. It's especially when it comes to relationship coaching, buttons get pushed all the time. The more intimate the relationship is with another person, the more likely it is that buttons will get pushed and triggers that will be set off. But remember, what triggers you is there to teach you. Triggers are teachers. So one of the most important things you want to do with your clients and yourself whenever you have a trigger, and it's beyond just an ordinary pet peeve or annoyance, it's something that is really triggering you on a deeper level, is you want to separate the fact of what is happening from the story that you're making it mean. Separating the fact from the story. So it's asking yourself, what actually happened? And then what did you make it mean? So for my example earlier, what happened when I was presenting is someone yawned. What I made it mean is that I'm boring and uninteresting. All right. So separating the fact from the story. That's the first step. The second step is to notice how you feel when you have that interpretation and notice how it impacts you. So I know for me, it would make me very frustrated. It would take away from my presence when I was in front of the room. So I noticed it had an undesired impact on me. So thinking about how do you feel when you have that interpretation, often it's like you're taking it personally. How do you feel when you take it personally? And then finally, where the real shift happens is when you ask yourself, what else could be true? Who would you be without the interpretation that you have? Or one of my favorite questions to use is, what if this had nothing to do with you? Like, what if that person's, what they said or what they did, what if their actions have nothing to do with you or don't reflect anything about you? In other words, like, what if you didn't take any of this personally? Who would you be without your interpretation? And this, just in like the few moments of going through those questions, can liberate someone from years of frustration and energy that they've been devoting to a trigger that was just unexamined. It is so fun when you can examine triggers with your clients and see what could be there, what can be uncovered. And we're not taught how to do this. And this is one of the reasons why coaching is so amazing, because it allows you to look at thoughts and experiences in ways that you haven't looked at them before. So that's what I got on exploring triggers with your client, the things that you've had it with. And before you go, if you've enjoyed this podcast, if you're a listener of the show, remember to subscribe so you know when I release more episodes. Please leave the podcast a 5-star review and write a couple of sentences about what you love about the show. It is so appreciated. And before we finish, I'm going to include a snippet from an interview I had with one of our coaches inside Thriving Coach Academy, so you can hear their story and their tips for becoming successful as a coach. So enjoy their story, and I will see you in the next episode.
My name is Amal Raisa, and the moment I discovered coaching and that this is something that I wanted to do was when I was working with a very challenging student at my school. That's when coaching appeared as my final resort to help him. And it was like a light bulb. And I remember exactly what he said that made me stop and pause. And he said, I never thought of this way. And I knew right there and then that something really cool is happening right now. Something really profound is happening right now. Being an educator and working in an institution where I felt I was boxed, I felt that coaching gave me the freedom to extend my expertise and reach out to people in a way that my profession didn't allow me. It also, coaching gave me control over the decision making, what I wanted to do, my schedule, flexibility. I felt like with flexibility, I could be more creative. I could be more authentic. I wanted to make a difference without the constraints of the institution that I was working in. It was just trying to follow what I wanted to do, what I felt I was meant to do. And coaching gave me that. As educators, what we have to do, or what we're trained to do, or told to do, is this is the goal of every student. So the goals of students are already fixed and presented. And sometimes that really robs students from pursuing their dreams, being creative, or finding out who they are and following their desires and passions. Most of our work, 95% of the work, is so the student can get a good grade. And we know that there's more to education than just getting a good grade. Coaching allows us to do that. Coaching allows us to help people reach their potential, be the best version of themselves, and celebrate that. And so that, I think that's why you may see many educators, entertaining the thought of becoming a coach, because that's the calling of an educator. I needed a sign, I needed answers, because this coaching desire that has been in me, I did try to fight it for a while. I'm like, no, I need to stay with what I'm doing. It's okay. I'm going through a phase or something, and it just, I couldn't shake it off, that there was something wrong. I stumbled upon Frank's podcast, and that was it. That was the deciding point that I need to contact Frank. So there's so many things that I like about the Academy. First I could talk about is the material. So when Frank sent me the materials, which was shocking to me that he would send them overseas to Abu Dhabi, where I work and reside right now. So that was amazing. I didn't expect that. But it was like, oh, you're going to send me the materials? You mean it's not online or something I have to get on my own? And he was like, no, give me your address. We will get it out right now. But when I saw the material, the way as an educator, I look at things like the language, how it's presented, how easy it was to read and understand, the organization of the material was just phenomenal. I felt like it spoke to multiple types of learners, and those are things that we pay attention as educators. But to my surprise, even though when I attended Module 1 and Module 2, not only did that material, spoke to multiple types of learners, even the way Frank presented the material and the pacing and the modeling spoke to multiple types of learners. So it doesn't matter what type of learner you are, or what pace you're at, or what level you're at. The material, the way it's organized, the way it's presented, and the way it's modeled really speaks to all people, and anyone and everyone can benefit and learn. The Academy stretched me. I've been pushed out of my comfort zone in a very positive way, where I am in a safe environment to grow, to learn, and to just discover things about myself and skills and confidence that, although I knew I had all those things, but it took it to a different level. And that's something I will always, value and cherish. When any person, embarks on something really new, I mean, there's always going to be some, some insecurities that might surface, some doubts, some hesitations, and definitely I had some of those when I considered the Academy. The most obvious was two things that come to mind is the financial aspect, and also having a job. And then I thought to myself, I can come up with 101 excuses not to do this, but I just needed to come up with one reason to do it. And that had to break the ball, break the bank, as they say, and just move forward. I felt like all my life that things, even though I've chosen my degree and I've gotten that and all that, but I always felt like somebody had a say, somebody had a finger in it, in that decision making. And joining the Academy was, for the first time, I felt my decision, no influences but myself. And I'm putting myself first. And it made me even think that I don't want to live a life of regrets, or what if, should have, did I, all these ifs and buts. But sometimes you don't realize that until you plunge, you take the plunge and you step. So that is the most difficult step to take, is take the plunge first. And then you realize that you're living a life with no regrets, and you're actually doing something for yourself. At this moment, I have 2 paying clients, and it's been great. And as a coach in training, And due to the material in the program that I'm in that is laid out, everything's so clear for me step by step to follow, I was able to get those 2 paid clients. And they are loving every minute of it and continue to renew and sign up for more sessions with me. I really, really contribute that a great deal to the academy, the training that I've gotten, the material that is well laid out and clear. It's just really remarkable. I can see that there's potential for me to work with administrators, to work with leaders in educational communities, to help bring staff and collaboration to the highest level to serve students the best that they can. What makes this academy stand out in comparison to others is that this academy just doesn't give you the information and train you. They take you as far as you need to go to build your own business. It doesn't stop there. That's important. It is very challenging for anyone at any level to say, okay, I've done the training. How do I get a client? The academy's there to tell you. Okay, now that I got a client, how do I organize my finances? How do I find my niche? The academy's there for you. And I like that you're not left hanging alone. What I would say to prospective students is take it from someone who's been there, who's tried it. You will not regret it. You will walk away with an experience that you've never had before. You will see things in a different light and you have nothing to lose. Go for it.
Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coach's secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.